Hi, Ethan here, and welcome to Metal Monday, where I'll be talking about albums old and new that I recommend that you listen to so you can start your week off right. This week, I will be covering Falgar's 2013 re-released in 2018 Turning Point album, La Dama de Alba. But before I start, I just would like to state that Spanish isn't really my strong suit in that I don't speak Spanish, so I apologize beforehand if I butcher the pronunciation of anything throughout this review. Now, Falgar started out as a one-man black metal project and has released two full-length albums in the style of second wave black metal. The 2009 album, The Paths Which You Seek, and the 2010 opus, Beyond the Fading Stars. Now, these albums weren't really anything exceptional. I mean, they were competently played, nicely put together, and suitably raw black metal albums, don't get me wrong, but as the artist himself has stated, they were nothing revolutionary or innovative. They were basically nothing to write home about, just a pair of nice black metal albums, and that's it. Then came the desire to do something more, to do something a little different, and to put out something that wasn't just another black metal album to toss onto the pile. You can actually hear hints of this starting to creep into the sound in the 2010 album Beyond the Fading Stars, in particular the several dungeon synth interlude songs and the track Through the Light, which actually shows a desire to put out something a little more emotionally connected and a little different than your more typical black metal sound. All this came to a head after a 3-week hiatus and an entire week spent recording songs, resulting in the 2013 release La Dama de Alba, or Lady of the Dawn. Now, throughout Falgar's career up until that point, there has been one influence that has shown through loud and clear in their sound, and that would be Burzum. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Falgar's musical evolution up until La Dama de Alba has been a look at Burzum's discography except in time-lapse. Starting out with the more aggressive, more Det som en gång var style and later evolving to something closer to Vissles et Taros, Falgar finally arrived at a point where I believe is only comparable to Burzum's Belus in terms of sound, albeit I am going to say that it is infinitely better. I mean, right off the bat, La Dama de Alba sounds incredible for an album that was recorded in admittedly cheap equipment over the course of a week. It is the epitome of DIY, and for an album made in a bedroom, it sounds incredible. Like, straight up, before even getting into the music, I am going to say this. All you professional musicians with big name studios behind you, you should be taking notes, because clarity of sound and clarity of vision sounds like this. The guitars retain a certain raw, certain stripped down and sharp edge, but they are always crystal clear, never buzzing, never lapsing into static or clipping, and always maintain a solid presence throughout. The bass plays hooky with the guitars. The drums, although in the background, still come through as they are meant to. Unobstructive, but still keeping the beat. Add to this the fact that the sharper edges of the vocals have also been filed down and rounded out, and you get one nice, crystal clear, almost glistening sound, which is actually of paramount importance to the atmosphere that this album is trying to capture. Now, after this, let's get into the music a little bit. The music found on La Dama de Alba can best be described as black metal meets folk meets chill out. Now, this may sound like an impossible concoction, but I would say that the music that is on this album is so relaxing, so chilled out, so meditative that it is impossible to not get immersed in it. The guiding principle of the music on this album is minimalism. Most of the time, songs are focused on a single 8-bar, more or less typical black metal riff played never faster than mid-tempo. Throughout this album, the tempo will never rise above mid, resulting in hypnotic, relaxed songs that keep a steady pulse and a leisurely pace. The relaxation element, the meditative quality of this album, is primarily brought forward by these two qualities, the repetition and the leisurely pace. You get no intrusive chaos solos, there are no drum attacks or unforeseen breakout passages. The vocals, although in the typical black metal style, are undisruptive and usually fit within the mold of the music, and the overall package seems to be designed more for taking you on a journey than assaulting your senses all at once. The album's concept, or the concept that the album has been constructed around, has been stated to be a search for the goddess Artemis, which the artist states is just the stand-in for an untainted feminine archetype. In that, yes,
this is the story of a girl.
The romantic qualities of the album are perhaps what rendered the music so emotional and so engaging. La Dama de Alba sounds like how it feels to wax bad poetry about your crush. Whether you are 15 years old or 75 doesn't really matter. This sense of inherent romanticism bleeds into the album in subtle ways and manages to creep into your subconscious. And if the desire was to convey something romantic and or create an album centered around romantic feelings, I would say this is a success. As such, it can be said that La Dama de Alba is one of those rare black metal adjacent albums that is built on a rather positive emotion. Go figure. I would say that the way this album has been written and the way the sound has been sculpted is more designed to place you in a magical, sort of medieval world that Falgar is trying to convey. That said, the fact that the album prefers to keep a steady pace does not mean that it is completely devoid of variety or surprises. In point of fact, after 3 tracks of immersing you into its romantic, pastoral world, the album decides to suddenly shift gears on the 4th track, Seguire, which features a more post-metal-like riffing as opposed to the black metal style riffs that you have been hearing until then, and as opposed to the more emotionally engaged, slightly melancholic, slightly poetic atmosphere, you get something just a touch more tense. But Seguire is just a transition into the next track, a sort of impending darkness before the path to Artemis turns treacherous. Track number 5, Fange Frio, becomes the greatest twist in the album in that it suddenly switches gears and brings drone doom influences into it, of all things. This is the song that sort of disrupts the until then very soft-spoken atmosphere, as if to convey that the road to your crush is fraught with peril. It starts out with very subtle drone doom influences, and even when it brings out its black metal bite and invites in a sudden and somewhat oppressive darkness, it still retains a rather doomy quality, in that the passages scattered throughout this track can be said to feature a marriage of black metal and doom. This interlude, however, is not quite as disorienting as it would have been on any other typical kind of black metal album, in that you accept it within the flow of the album itself, which is another positive aspect of La Dama de Alba that actually struck me, in that the album has a very nice flow to it. It doesn't bore, it is suitably gripping, and it carries you from the first track until the last one. The first 3 tracks sort of start you on your journey. Sanguire is when the twist happens, Fango y Frio is the darkest hour before the dawn, followed by Libertinos, which returns the album to its pastoral, melancholic, romantic roots, all of this culminating in the ambient / dungeon synth closer Artemisia, where you finally encounter the goddess Artemis. The main thing I think contributing to this well-pacing of the album is the fact that it is not an extravagant, a grandiose, and opulent hour and a half or something. La Dama de Alba is a compact 37 minutes plus. Falgar manages to maintain repetitive, hypnotic, meditative, but extremely tight songwriting throughout this almost 40-minute album. And the fact that he had the presence of mind to not go overboard with song lengths is a testament to the songwriting capabilities of the artist. Ultimately, the thing that makes La Dama de Alba so unique is the fact that it is willing to play with the black metal formula that we are used to take its black metal influences and to take them somewhere unexpected. As far as an experiment in generating a unique kind of sound goes, I would say this album is a resounding success, to the point where I would have really liked to hear some more of this from this particular artist. However, after La Dama de Alba was released, Falgar just shifted genres entirely and became an acoustic neo-folk outfit. Which I'm not complaining, it's the artist's choice. I'm just saying that this album is good enough that I would have loved to see where he would take this particular sound next. So all in all, if you're tired of the deluge of bullshit in your life, if you are stressed the fuck out by the times, and if you would like to hear an artist take black metal as it is and take it somewhere else entirely, or just in general, if you want an album that stands on its own as a unique piece of work with good songwriting, nice instrumentation, immersive atmosphere, and emotional weight, La Dama de Alba is the album for you. Having said all that, I think I'm just gonna go listen to this one again, because if there's one thing this album has, it's replayability value. So until next time, this is Eason. Hope you have a nice week. Peace out.